Sup people, Casual Talk here. Today I'm going to be talking about learning to love the things that you don't like or what you don't want to do. Learning to love the things that you don't want to do. I've been there. I'm sure anyone's been there. Based off my own experience, I don't like being a janitor. I don't like being a floor cleaner, a housekeeper in a hospital, or environmental services technician. That's a fancy way of saying hospital housekeeper. I don't like doing that. But at the exact same time, I have the moments where I love doing the job. I like being clean. So finding some sort of love and outlet on understanding that, hey, this job is not so bad. It makes you forget that you're just working. You're just doing your job. You're making money and you're making a check. You're making your check at the end of the day. You're getting paid. You're getting paid to do that job. And if the money is decent, which making $19.50 an hour in South Carolina with just some skills, a GED or a high school diploma, I'm more in a better financial situation than other people working part-time or that don't even have a career and they're working at Walmart or in a mom and pop shop. The minimum wage down here in South Carolina, I think it's between $7 to $8. Last time I checked, it was $7.25. Horrible, right? And the cost of living in many areas in South Carolina is increasing. Makes no sense, right? Either the people that is dealing with the crappy minimum wages, they gotta do at least 2 to 3 jobs, or live with a relative, or be humbled that they're living with their parents who got themselves together. Or you have to work in a warehouse. Warehouses, from my experience, pays about $15 to $16 an hour. The highest you probably get paid will be between $17 to $18 an hour if you're blessed. If you're blessed enough to even find $17 to $18 an hour. Entry level warehouse position, a warehouse associate position. Other than that, a lot of jobs today, minimum wage was never created to get by long term. Maybe back then, it could get you by very far if you're working your way up to be a manager, a supervisor, CEO, or the owner of the business. Now, that's not the case. It's all about connections. It's all about who you know, how much you know, and the work you also put in. And honestly, I don't agree with busting my behind to work my way up at a standard entry job or for a company where anything can happen. Because once you get let go of from that company, you're back to square one. You just have your skills. You just have the skills that you got to depend on. And if you don't have a college degree or a certification of some sort of trade or a career as a teacher or a professor, a firefighter, something, you're back at square one going for dead-end jobs. Yep, and it's competitive on top of that. And how things are now, a lot more jobs are more competitive more than ever. I make $19.50 an hour. And I work in Charleston, South Carolina. I was on Indeed, and I was looking up jobs around Somerville because I live in Somerville, and I was looking for something a lot closer so it would be an easier commute and easy on the car and the gas and the mileage on the vehicle that I'm currently driving. Guess what I found out? Most of the jobs in Somerville I've seen are paying between about $10, $15 an hour. 10 to 15 an hour. Majority. And then I see the supervisor, manager positions, jobs are offering $18.50, $19.50 an hour. And then there's the trade jobs that I've seen that I've came across. They're offering more than that. And then there's the careers. They're offering $20 to $30 to $40 to $50, $60 an hour. What does that tell me? I have to do something and do what I gotta do in order to make more. Sobbing, complaining, it's not gonna do nothing. I have to suck it up. I have to deal with it. Complaining like you're the only one that got it hard, you will get a rude awakening from other people that has it a lot harder than you. There's people out there who has it a lot harder than me. And you see what I said, right? There's literally supervisor and manager positions in Somerville offering $18 to $19 an hour. And I make $19.50 an hour at an entry level position. I mean, I got paid this much because, thank God, I have about 2 to 3 years of janitorial experience working in warehouses, working at schools. I was blessed enough to use that to my advantage. But this goes to show you, be thankful for what you got, because once you realize the good and what you have, it makes you be more humble with your situation. It makes you think like, it could have been worse. Learn to love some of the things that you don't want to do, because another man's trash is another man's treasure. It's an old saying, but at the exact same time, it's true. And this applies to jobs that you could be very blessed and fortunate to have, and people don't even know it exists. Because how I got the connections to even get this job in South Carolina was when I first worked for a temp agency. And this was the time when I was trying to leave my last job from my warehouse, and it was drama, and I was trying to leave it. I was getting paid about $17 an hour, and I was only working 3 days a week. I was getting maybe about $500 to $600 a week. I worked some overtime. That didn't work out because it was very ghetto. It was toxic work environment. I did what I had to do. I found a job. It's through ServiceMaster. ServiceMaster is a contracting hospitality hospital company that sends temporary workers to fill in positions that are missing within hospitals, aka environmental service cleaners or housekeeper hospital cleaners. The supervisors or the hospitals, they pay ServiceMaster to hire their employees, and ServiceMaster pays their employees a cut of how much they're getting paid from the hospital as the contractor. It's sort of like a temp agency or a job agency. The job agency will help you find a job, and they're making money off of the money that you're making per hour. The pro of that for the company is that they're getting all the benefits. And ServiceMaster, I was not getting any benefits. They're getting all the benefits. Me working for them, I was getting paid $20 an hour. bi-weekly. People may say, oh, it's a lot, but I was not getting, there was no eligibility for overtime. What else? There was no PTO. There's no sick days. There's no insurance. And I got the lie from the manager that, oh, they're working on it. They're working on it. They're working on it. I had a feeling that was a lie, because after a while, I had to think to myself, this company's been around for so long. You're a supervisor for Service Master, and you can't provide your employees some PTO or emergency sick day, or if I call out, I miss that whole day. I miss that whole check for that day. So, long story short, there was a gentleman, while I was working at the hospital as a contractor for Service Master, same hospital I'm working at in Charleston. This is under Roper St. Francis Hospital, one of their locations in Charleston, South Carolina. The brother was like, hey man, you work for a contracting agency, right? I told him, yeah. He asked what the name was. I told him Service Master. He was like, man, why don't you work here? Why don't you work for us? We're hiring right now. They need people. They need people. They need people. I didn't want to hear it. I was like, well, I just got this job. And I'm not the type to to burn bridges. And I had to be realistic and think about it. My pockets was tight because I didn't have that much money saved up. And that was my fault. Stuff happens too. I was also living above my means at this time. Now I'm working on getting myself back on my feet and being more realistic with my finances and budgeting. So sooner or later, I was like, you know what? Let me get hired on. I had to do the hours that I needed. Eventually, I had told the supervisor, hey, I'm looking to get hired on, because I had a better chance at getting hired because I was already there. Rather, if I was just a outside looking in, an outside person coming across the job to just work at the same hospital that I'm working at, right? Under the same title as a environmental services cleaner, I would have to wait a lot longer for the hiring process to go through, for the background check, for the hiring process to actually go through. I would have to wait a lot longer, and I didn't want to do that. So I was actually blessed and fortunate enough to work from the job agency, Service Master, and I was already working at the hospital through Service Master. So it saves the company, it saves the hospital money to hire me fully on than to hire me as a contractor through Service Master. So, because they're paying Service Master more for me per hour than they would to just hire me flat on. And what convinced me even more was when my coworker, the guy that put me on, to just say, hey, leave Service Master and work directly for the hospital. You'll get all the benefits that you need, and you'll get insurance, you'll get PTO, you get vacation days, sick days, and all that. He convinced me because I asked him, how much are you getting paid per hour? Because I'm getting paid $20 an hour. He said he's making about around that amount, 21, 22 an hour. So I was sold right there, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna apply right away, but I have to directly go to the supervisor and do that at the job. So I went to the supervisor in charge. He told me what to do. I took things from there. I applied directly online on the computer that they have at the office, at where my position and then the hospital was taking place. I went to the office. I stayed there, applied for the job directly. Before I know it, a few weeks went by. I was hired on. I did the orientation. I did all the things that I had to do. And Service Master, I had to let my supervisor from Service Master know that, hey, I'm going to be making a transition. And they were well aware because the supervisor had told them that before I even said anything, that, hey, the contract is not working out. He he's gonna buy out my contract and then just cancel it so he could have me as a full-time employer. Everything worked out, and since then I've been working directly for the hospital, and they have yearly raises. They also have merit raises where, depending on how well you do as a worker, you may get a 3% to 6% increase on your check. Even though the drive from home to this job is about 30 minutes, it's way better than going to a job 10 minutes from my house or 10 minutes from where I live, making less than $15 an hour. And I make $19.50 an hour. Working at a hospital as an environmental services cleaner, it has its pros and it has its cons. I don't like dealing with bodily fluids like pee, poop, blood. I'm exposed to all that. I'm exposed to airborne diseases, COVID-19, C. diff, tuberculosis. I'm exposed to all these diseases. I'm exposed to these diseases. And I have to make sure I'm well aware of the precautions and the PPE, or the protective gear, that I have to wear just to clean certain areas, clean certain patients' rooms, and also know the procedures just to get by. Now, the reason why I brought up all this, not to make this video any longer than what I've intended it to be, is to say, even though if I did not have the love for being a janitor, I would have never came across this job. I would have never came across this job. Making between $30,000 to $40,000 a year, it's not bad. It really isn't. It's way better than making less than $30,000. Sure, people in Mercedes-Benz, they're making more than I am per hour, and there could be some overtime. But the reason why I ended up leaving that behind, because for one, I was working as a contractor in Mercedes-Benz. It was in a ghetto environment. And two, the hours was not going to work, because for the three, my kids are in school, and it would have, they wouldn't be willing to work with my schedule. See, you have to also find the right employer that's willing to work with your schedule. They're flexible with you, and they're willing to work with you. It doesn't get better than that. I'm getting paid $19.50 an hour. My supervisor is willing to work with my schedule. He's flexible with me as long as I let him know what the situation is. And I still got my job. There's benefits. I have insurance, even though I gotta pay a portion of it out of pocket. It doesn't get better than that. Downside is the sanitary things that I gotta be exposed to. But hey, I'm all good for it, because I'm making a decent amount of money. It's not a career, but I'm making a decent amount of money. I'm making more than the food kitchen workers, because I was curious. The food workers that helps prepare the plates and the meals for patients to bring to their rooms, right? They make between $15 to $16 an hour. I'm a floor cleaner, environmental services worker. I'm technically doing housekeeping, or I'm technically a hospital janitor. And I'm making $3 to $4 extra more than them. I'm making $3 to $4 extra than the hospital food worker at the same hospital I work at. I make $3 to $4 more. And of course, I already know there's a hierarchy where the nurses gets paid more. You have the head nurses, the maintenance, doctors, surgeons. All that is common sense. But overall, at the end of the day, I learned to love the job that I'm doing. Even during the times and days that I don't feel like going to my job, I don't feel like going to work, I know that I have to do it and I have to suck it up. Because at the end of the day, I'm happy enough and thankful enough to at least have a paycheck by the end of the week. I'm thankful. I'm humble about it. I'm not complaining about it. See, a lot of people that expect you to complain about your position, those people are very negative, weak-minded, or they just have a negative energy themselves, or they're not happy with their life. I don't like to stay around complainers and whiners and losers. I like to be motivated and be around the winners. See, if it was not for my coworker for telling me to hey man, leave Service Master and work directly for the hospital instead, you'll make close to about the exact same amount of money per hour, depending on your experience, and you'll get benefits. The supervisor's real cool, and he's willing to work with you. Kid you not, that's what it is. Plus, what I also found out is that jobs or hospitals, organizations that you work for, if you're in college, they're willing to reimburse your financial aid on the classes that is being paid for. So if you're if you have student loans, and if you stay with the same hospital or the same organization, depending on how the procedures works, how the rules and regulations works, your supervisor lets you know you stay with us for about a year while you're in school, we'll pay for you to go to school. We'll pay for your classes. We'll pay for your debt. And by the time you graduate, to get the next full amount, you have to stay with us for another year or 6 months and some change. It doesn't get better than that. A lot of people does not want to be working as a janitorial or a hospital environmental services cleaner. There's still positions open right now. They're still opening positions right now. They're still hiring. They're still willing to hire people. The problem is, so many people are lazy. They don't want to do it, or they have some sort of excuse. The job may be too far for them. They may not have a car because this state is very heavily car dependent. But number one reason why a lot of people wouldn't want to do jobs like this is because I don't want to be around blood, the trash, it stinks. Because they don't have the love to do the job. You never know what you're going to get yourself into until you try it. Don't knock it until you try it. Don't knock it until you try it. If I never went down the route of being a janitor since I was a lot younger, if I never went through those skills and those jobs, yes, maybe I could have still found a job similar to what I'm doing right now, but Service Master the one that was hiring me, he wouldn't have given me a chance. Because I remember when he was first hiring me, he was like, man, your resume is excellent. This is what he told me. You have an excellent resume. Like, you have a lot of years of janitorial experience and you have a lot of job experience. You went through so many jobs. He was shocked. He was impressed. He was surprised. He was like, wow, you have a lot of job experience. Especially with being a janitor. Because that was one of the main things he asked me. Do you have any sort of cleaning janitorial experience? Because that's some of the basic requirements that they ask for with this type of job. Sure, I went through the training to be shown how to clean patients' rooms, how to deal with patient rooms, how to sanitize patient rooms. But overall, my skills is what got me in the door. Don't knock it until you try it. So many jobs that people would think like, oh, nobody's not going to respect me. I'm not doing this job. It's degrading. Even back then, people would make fun of anybody that works at McDonald's. Now today, working at McDonald's, a lot of people don't really care. A job is a job. And if you're making a decent amount of money and you're starting somewhere, that job could determine the type of rope or type of road that you're going to need to get to where you need to be. If it wasn't for my janitorial skills, I wouldn't have the job that I'm at right now. I probably wouldn't have even gotten hired. I probably would have never gotten hired if my ego was more important than my livelihood and my future. And I'm a college student right now. And what made me thought about this video is because math is not everyone's cup of tea. A lot of people in general does not like to do math. But once you get to learn how to do the math, you learn to love it. You learn to realize that I'm actually pretty good at this. Or you get to learn and realize, like, you know what? I'm just doing what I have to do. As long as I have the memory for it, I'm learning, I'm invested, I'll be okay. I'll be okay. I'll be all right. It's not that hard. It may be challenging. There may be tricks and obstacles when it comes down to math or college algebra, which is what I'm taking right now. But if you have the tools and the resources and you are trained from the bottom, moving up the ladder, especially when it gets harder, you're going to be thankful that you had the experience to go through the obstacles along the way. It pays off in the end. Don't knock it until you try it. Learn to love some of the things that you don't like. Learn to love some of the things that you don't want to do. You have to learn to love some things in life, some jobs. Because if the love isn't there, the job is not there. If the job is not there, you have no job. That's just common sense. Common sense. Anyways, guys, that's the video here for today. Those of you who are interested, feel free to comment, share the video, like the video. And I don't expect this to get a lot of views or a lot of attention. And if it does, Lord willing, I pray that this video and my advice has blessed you. Casual Talk here. Peace out. Let me know what you think.